He is no good. This was the thought that popped up after I was rejected by my stepbrother for the second time. Daniel, are you listening to what I'm saying? Looking up in the direction of the voice. At the age of 27, Alexander had superior eyebrows and eyes, a high bridge nose, and thick black hair as dark as ink, which gave his fair complexion a hint of gloom. Those cold and almond-shaped eyes were looking straight at me. The glass lenses reflected the warm light of the night light, making it hard for me to see the emotions in his eyes. Daniel. Seeing that I didn't respond, Alexander called me by my full name. He is always like this. He has a mouth that looks so kissable, but he always babbles some old-fashioned and unpleasant words, either telling me not to have any thoughts about him or asking me to focus on my studies. I've already graduated from high school. Is it wrong to like someone? Is it illegal to like my own stepbrother? Unconvinced, I stuck out my neck and retorted, "Why can't I like you? You rejected me before because I was still young. What about now? I'm already an adult. Why do you still use such words to fob me off?" In my sophomore year of high school, I confessed my love to my stepbrother for the first time. My stepbrother, who had always doted on me, however, stopped smiling and his tone became much colder. Daniel, you're only 17. You haven't met many people. There are many people better than me. You'll have more choices in the future. Just those two light-hearted sentences. It brushed aside my secret love that was nipped in the bud before it even started. We still acted like loving brothers in front of our parents. He would still take meticulous care of everything for me. He played the role of an elder brother very well. We were very affectionate, but he never overstepped the boundaries. I was the one who overstepped. I'm this younger brother who has no blood relation with him, but he never thought that the step-brother he had carefully protected and who had never experienced any great hardships would have feelings for him. A flower nurtured in a greenhouse. What it lacks the least is the courage to start all over again. So as soon as I graduated from senior high school, I confessed my love to him again to prove that I wasn't just acting on a whim. Outside, the storm was raging and thundering. Inside the house, there was a deathly silence. Alexander just stared at me quietly for a long time. So long that my scalp started to tingle. "I'm your elder brother." He slowly uttered these 4 words. "We're not even blood related." I silently retorted in my heart. His tone was harsh. I knew it was a prelude to his anger. He rarely gets angry. Once he does, he'll ignore me for at least a few days or at most 2 months. I'm afraid of making him angry. I'm afraid he'll ignore me. The courage I'd mustered up faded away again. This confession is destined to end in failure once again. When he doesn't want to argue with me, he always uses the excuse of our brotherhood to silence me. Got it. I spoke in a low voice, nodded perfunctorily, and accidentally caught a glimpse of the fine sweat on his forehead. I felt a familiar touch on my head. Alexander stood up, instinctively ruffled my hair, and resumed his usual doting tone. "Daniel, be good. It's too late. Go to bed." Before I could get up, he couldn't wait to take big steps towards the door. His steps were a bit messy, and he knocked over 2 chairs when he went out. I threw off the quilt he'd wrapped me in, revealing my slightly wrinkled shirt, and glanced around. I have what women have, and I also have what women don't have. Could it be that I'm lacking in that aspect? I looked at the glass of water on the table that my step-brother had drunk until only a little was left, but just now it was all bulging, until it went flat. He never even thought of pushing me down. I'm a bit frustrated. I slumped onto the bed. Is it because my chest isn't big enough? Is my butt not perky enough? Or is it because I'm a man? Early in the morning when I got up, I sat at the dining table with 2 huge dark circles under my eyes. Alexander made breakfast as usual and brought it in front of me. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly curled his fist and coughed violently. I reached out to pat him on the back. Who would have thought that the usually gentle Alexander would suddenly jump up and stand 2 steps away from me? My outstretched hand froze in the air. Even my heart felt empty. Is he repelling my closeness? Is it because of my confession to him yesterday? But how could it be? He didn't react this strongly when I confessed to him before. "Daniel, I got a bit of a cold. I don't want to infect you." A hoarse voice rang out, interrupting my wild thoughts. But he accompanied me to the amusement park yesterday. He was as strong as an ox. He even knocked a kid on the other side of the karting track to tears. "Hurry up and eat. Just leave the plate on the table after you're done. I'll drive you to school later." After he gave his instructions, he rushed off again. This was the first time we didn't eat at the same table. The meal tasted like wax. Even packing my luggage became absent-minded. This was the first time Alexander didn't take the initiative to pack my luggage for me. A hint of restlessness welled up in my heart. I threw my clothes on the ground forcefully and kicked the suitcase viciously. Damn man, I'm the one whose confession was rejected. What's he being so evasive for? Let me do it. Alexander, who had left, suddenly turned back and picked up the clothes on the ground. Go and have some fun on your own. I'll call you when I'm done packing. A sour feeling welled up in my nose. I turned around and whispered, the military training lasts for a full 15 days. I won't be able to see you during that time. From primary school until now, we've been under the same roof every day. In order to stay by Alexander's side, I also applied for a university in this city. Alexander has never been away from me for 15 consecutive days. Alexander sniffed and looked back at me with amusement. Why does a big guy like you always like to cry? I'll come to pick you up after 15 days, but I didn't expect it. On the evening of the 15th day that I had been longing for, Alexander came to pick me up as promised, but in the passenger seat that belonged to me, there sat a woman about his age. I knew her, Mia, a partner who was on par with him in research in Alexander's university laboratory. They had been matched up by countless relatives and friends. They were both intellectually strong and extremely well matched. She went abroad for further study 4 years ago. I didn't expect her to come back. That was the first time I realized. I was still young and had enough time to be crazy about love. But Alexander was already 27 years old. He had reached the age for marriage. Even if there wasn't Mia by his side, there would be someone else sooner or later. During the new year after my freshman year ended, Mom and Dad went abroad again sweetly for their romantic getaway. In the huge house, there were again just lonely me, Alexander, and his group of brothers. They rushed into the house with hot pot ingredients, drinks and beer without saying hello. It had been like this for the past few years. Alexander was used to spending the new year with his brothers who weren't allowed to go home until they found girlfriends. And me, a clingy burden who didn't like making friends and only liked sticking to him. Only this year, there was also Mia who had returned from abroad. After greeting me, she naturally walked into the kitchen and helped Alexander. It has to be Mia. After all these years, they still seem to be the most well-matched couple. Remember when we went camping during our school days? Their teamwork in grilling skewers was truly amazing. Alexander's brother, who came back to carry the beer, looked in the direction of the kitchen, with a sly smile on his lips. It made me feel stuffy inside. When they finished handling the ingredients and came out of the kitchen, we had already taken our seats around the dining table. When we were having hot pot around the steaming stove, the gossips they talked about always revolved around those boring topics. But this time, there was fresh material right at the dinner table. The center of the topic suddenly shifted to Alexander and Mia. Has Mia not been in a relationship for all these years? I don't know who started the conversation. Our Alexander is the same. After all these years, how come they both happen to not be in a relationship? Is it really a coincidence? I don't think so. The beef roll that I just dipped in the sauce and took a bite of suddenly lost its taste. The laughter around me kept going. Someone beside me nudged me and winked at me. What about Daniel? He's been in college for a year. Does he have a crush? It's okay to start dating at this age. Your brother won't stop you. Won't Alexander care about me anymore? My hand holding the chopsticks paused. I looked up and directly met his deep gaze. His lips were tightly pursed, which was a sign of his unhappiness. Is he unhappy about others suggesting that I start dating? Just as I was about to decline, Alexander spoke up first. You can date. I won't stop you. The words on the verge of coming out got stuck in my throat, making it almost impossible for me to breathe. I recalled how Alexander deliberately kept his distance from me some time ago, and now he deliberately said such things about me dating someone. I was not willing to be outdone. I put on a smile and said in a brisk tone, I'll bring my partner back to celebrate the spring festival with everyone next year. I'm full. You all can take your time. Putting down the chopsticks and avoiding Alexander's burning gaze, I went straight back to my room. Why does he get to control me? And why does he not want to care about me either? There's no such good thing in the world. After those people outside finished their meals and went home respectively, when Alexander went into the bathroom to wash up, I hugged my pillow and directly pushed open Alexander's door and got into his quilt. What nonsense about being well-matched? What a perfect match. They're not even together. Who Alexander belongs to can't be decided by others. When Alexander came in, I had already thoughtfully warmed the quilt for him and moved to the other side. The heater in my room is broken. It won't be a problem for me to squeeze in with you for one night, right? Seeing that he was about to refuse, I got anxious and let out a loud humph. We're both grown men. Are you afraid that I'll take advantage of you? I, who came out of the closet in front of him, it seems a bit dangerous to him. Fortunately, Alexander didn't say much. Under the dim yellow light, he stood in front of the bed, his Adam's apple bobbed, and his eyes were obscure. After a moment, he lifted a corner of the quilt and slowly lay down. Go to sleep. His voice was a bit hoarse. Could it be that his cold hasn't recovered yet? Really? Obviously the floor heating at home is very warm. I don't know how he caught a cold that day. I propped up my body and wanted to tuck the quilt on his side tighter for him. What are you doing? Alexander suddenly opened his eyes and suddenly grabbed my wrist. Aren't you having a cold? I thought I was afraid you'd catch a cold, so I wanted to tuck in the corner of the quilt for you. So jumpy, as if I could really do something to him. Don't be so on guard against me. I won't force you. I lay back in the quilt again. I looked at the dotted bright lights on the ceiling. He closed his eyes again beside me. Suddenly, the room fell into silence. Alexander. Yes. He was still awake. Do you still remember when we were kids? During thunderstorms, I was so scared that I couldn't fall asleep, and you would hold me and lull me to sleep. There's no thunder today. I clenched my fists tightly, trying hard to calm my anger, and forced a smile through gritted teeth. The glow-in-the-dark stickers on the ceiling can actually stay bright for so long. I remember when I first moved to the Shin family with my mother and slept in my own room on the first night, because I couldn't see the stars above my head. I let out a scream and woke up everyone in the room. My original home was very shabby. It was just an ordinary small bungalow. After my father passed away, it became even shabbier, but at that time, I was still young and didn't have much of a concept of poverty. I just thought the leaky roof was very interesting, and I could see the shiny stars every night. After coming to the Shin family, although the bed here was very soft and the room was very warm, but I could never see the stars above my head again. Everyone who was woken up by my scream stood beside my bed, nervously asking me what was wrong. I sobbed and pointed at the ceiling, saying that I wanted to smash a big hole in it so that I could see the stars. My mother, whose sweet dream was interrupted, was so angry that she immediately picked up the slipper at her feet and wanted to give me a hard slap. She didn't succeed. He was stopped by Alexander. He said he had a way and would definitely let me see the stars tomorrow. He indulges me too much. He indulges me to an outrageous degree. Even when others said in front of me that Alexander didn't look like my elder brother but rather like a dog I kept, he wouldn't get angry. The quality is quite good. After I rambled on for a while, the silent one suddenly opened his eyes with a somewhat moved expression. There were no such stickers in the stationery stores near the school at that time. I was really afraid you would cry again at night, so I took 3 bus rides around to buy it that day. Daniel, what are you doing? Amid Alexander's exclamation of surprise, I saw myself naked in his panicked and disheveled pupils. Sorry, I've been playing the emotional card with him for a long time. I really can't hold it in anymore. Sentimental love is not as practical as having sex. Alexander, you're finally willing to talk to me. So aggrieved that I want to bury my head in Alexander's big pectoral muscles and cry. I don't know if it's because of my second confession or Mia's return to the country. He still arranges everything for me in daily life, but I can clearly feel that he is no longer willing to stay in the same space with me for a long time and has started to avoid my overly intimate words. Until this party tonight, the teasing of Alexander by everyone made my panic intensify again. Will he be urged to get married? Will he marry someone else? If he marries someone else, what should I do? Can I still stick to him every day? Daniel, get off. He seemed really angry. The violently rising and falling chest made me feel dizzy. The veins popping out on his forehead all showed his forbearance. I blinked innocently at him, gently bit his Adam's apple, mixed with uncontrollable excitement. Alexander, I didn't drug you this time. But why? Do you still have a reaction? The breathing sound in my ear became more and more rapid. It was so hot that I couldn't help but want to block his lips and sink with him. Take off the last piece of clothing on the body below. Take his tightly clenched hand. With temptation. Don't you want to taste the fruit that you have carefully nurtured first? I always think that Alexander should take half of the responsibility for my falling in love with him. When I was 8 years old, my mother and Father Shin fell in love with each other and got married soon after. I moved into Father Shin's house with my mother and met Father Shin's son. Alexander, that is my nominal step-brother in the future. That was the first time I saw him. The young man slung his school bag across his body, wore over-ear headphones, and was dressed in a denim jacket with a loose, open collar, revealing his fair collarbone. He seemed to be going out. Before his casual glance fell on me, I hurriedly lowered my head and called out, "Brother." That single call of brother on that day. He truly took on the responsibility of an older brother. Mr. Shin was often away on business trips, so my mother went to take care of him. In that large house, only my step-brother and I were left. He attended the parent-teacher meetings. He picked me up after evening self-study. He cooked the meals at home. He bought the daily necessities. Me, who had no blood relation with him, was spoiled by him to the heavens. He unexpectedly and bit by bit seeped into my ordinary life. It wasn't until I was in high school and had my first stirrings of love that I realized I had improper and special feelings for him. He was so good. So good that all the boys I met couldn't compare with him. So good that I began to boldly call him Alexander, deluding myself that I could shake off the step-brother relationship in this way. So good that after seeing him chatting cheerfully with an older sister, the intense jealousy made me unable to hold back and confess my love to him. In the darkness, all the tiny sounds and unbearable emotions were infinitely magnified. His hasty action of pushing me away and getting out of bed in a hurry seemed extremely glaring at this moment. It still can't be. He still rejected me. Daniel, I'm your older brother. He was still gasping for breath, and the lust in his eyes hadn't faded yet, but he was in a hurry to distance himself from me. You clearly had a reaction. I still wasn't willing to give up. I'm not willing to accept that the person I've liked since junior high school still regards me as his younger brother. Alexander, I'll ask you one last time. Do you not like me at all? I stared directly at him, hoping to find the answer I wanted on his face. But he didn't want to give it. He averted his gaze and spoke again. You're only 19 years old this year. Your future is just beginning. Maybe because you've spent too much time with me, you've had the illusion that you like me. Family affection is different from love. I'm not a brute to develop such feelings for my younger brother who has lived with me for 10 years. It doesn't matter that you like boys. I won't interfere with your sexual orientation. There should be many peers in college. Maybe you'll find your best choice. After he finished speaking, I then realized there was a metallic taste of blood in my mouth. Biting too hard actually backfired. Just like the relationship between him and me. I closed my eyes, took several deep breaths, and gradually calmed down. The darkness concealed my tear-streaked face. I was rejected for the third time. This time, I gambled all my self-esteem, but he still didn't want me. I wiped the corners of my eyes and forced a smile. Got it, brother. Alexander reached out with his hand in half-empty, and finally looked at me with a desire to speak and arrest. This brother. Finally, it was as he wished. From now on, he will only and can only be my brother. After that day, I didn't say goodbye to Alexander. While he was at the company during the day, I packed my luggage and went back to school directly. At the beginning, I stayed in this city for Alexander, just to see him every day when I got home at night. I was really spoiled by him too much. I didn't know my own place and thought that if I was persistent enough, Alexander would eventually be mine. It turns out that not everything can be obtained by pestering. To the night Alexander returned home, finally found out that something was wrong. The living room of Alexander will be sounded after he opens the door, and will now be silent. Not only so, he also found my bedroom almost empty. When I got his phone call, I was on the way to the school community. Brother, what is it? Where have you been? Or is he too familiar? Just by hearing his tone of voice, I can even guess what expression and what gesture he has on the other side. Clenching my fingers on the skateboard tightly, I forced myself not to think of his face. I went back to school. Bro, I forgot to tell you. From now on, I'll still live on campus. It's inconvenient to travel back and forth. And you're right, I should have more social interactions. Otherwise, I'll always be a burden to you during festivals. Since I fell in love with him, my world has almost entirely revolved around him. There has never been room for anyone else in my eyes. Compared with him, I seem like an old-fashioned person. One shouldn't hang oneself on a crooked neck tree. I heard that the super handsome senior from the skateboard club will also come. Daniel, hurry up. My roommate noticed that I was left behind and then huffed and puffed back to drag me. I quickly put away my phone. Bro, stop talking. I'm going to be late. I wonder how handsome that senior is. Is he more handsome than my brother? I don't know, but he must be younger than my brother. After coming out publicly, the world is much kinder than I thought. My straight as an arrow roommate didn't give me a disgusted look. Instead, he enthusiastically introduced high-quality gay men around them to me. I thought from the beginning that you weren't straight. You're like the sweet girls among girls. You're definitely a heart stopper. Looking at the constantly popping red dots in WeChat, I fell into deep thought. Maybe it's really because I don't know many people? A 178 centimeters pure and innocent college guy. An ideal type, very handsome, and 183 centimeters cute and clingy puppy-like guy. A Pisces, a 192 centimeters guy with money and good looks, who boasts about his large size. A submissive guy with a nice voice. A national server league player, good at comforting people. How come there's even one with the same number? I felt dizzy and almost couldn't see my future. The roommate kept chattering beside me. My ears were getting numb. After approving all the friend requests and just about to reply to the messages, suddenly, a message popped up from the pinned avatar frame. Are you coming home this weekend? Brother will make braised pork ribs for you. Ooh. Alexander makes the most delicious braised pork ribs. They are even more authentic than those in restaurants outside. I swallowed my saliva and replied, "Forget it. I have a community activity this weekend and can't come back. No matter how delicious the braised pork ribs are, he won't make them for me forever." The screen was on for a long time. It was not until it went dark that the other side replied with okay. I stared at it for a long time. Finally, I unpinned it. I started to reply to other messages. "It's time to have a boyfriend." I haven't even had a boyfriend yet. That old thing at home got sick and paralyzed first. Daniel, didn't you apply for local schools just to make it convenient to go home? What on earth are you thinking by moving back to school? How could I have given birth to such an ungrateful child like you? Your elder brother has taken care of you since childhood. Now that you've grown up, you've really become something. If I hadn't called your elder brother to ask about your situation, he might have died of illness at home all alone. I was having a lie-in on a morning without an 8 a.m. class when my mom's phone call completely stunned me. How come Alexander is on the verge of death after just half a year apart? Shinlin, how did elder brother get sick? I quickly asked, and the accelerating sound of my heartbeat was like my heart would jump out of my chest the next second. You're asking me? Where am I and where are you? Go back home right now and take care of your elder brother. As the last roar from the other end of the phone faded away, only the continuous busy tone kept stimulating my eardrums. 3 seconds later, I quickly turned over and got out of bed, grabbed a coat casually and rushed home. It's my fault. Alexander seemed to have sent me a message a few days ago saying that his stomach hurt. At that time, my roommate dragged me to a dinner party. In a hurry, I put my phone in my pocket and forgot about it. Gastric perforation? Gastric bleeding? Stomach cancer? A sudden jolt. I quickened my pace. We cannot be together. We cannot meet. You can marry someone else, but he can't really die. All the way, my mind was in a mess, and I couldn't get through to his phone. My tear glands are too developed. Tears slid down uncontrollably like beads off a string. My hands were shaking so much that I could hardly align with the keyhole of the door lock. Just then, the door opened. After half a year of not seeing each other, that person was still wearing an old-fashioned black shirt, looking at me full of doubts, looking at the coffee in his hand. I thought of what he said about having a stomachache again. Filled with anger, I knocked the ceramic cup out of his hand. You're about to die and still drinking coffee. I knocked it out too early. It was Chinese herbal medicine. I sat on the sofa, too ashamed to know where to look. I knocked over his medicine, and he had to clean it up himself. Even the King of Heaven would say it's unjust. I heard from my mom that you were on the verge of death. You're sick. How are you feeling? Alexander paused in his motion of picking up the ceramic shards. A smile appeared on his pale face and he said, "It's okay." Then he slumped softly to the ground. You can't just sleep anywhere even if you're okay. Damn it. I've never seen Alexander so weak in my half-life. You old guy, you took such good care of me. Why can't you take good care of yourself? With great effort, I half-dragged and half-carried him to the sofa and muttered to myself, "Is there any more medicine?" Alexander closed his eyes and frowned, looking extremely uncomfortable. He trembled his fingers and pointed towards the kitchen. I handed the warmed medicine to him. "Here you are. Is your stomach very serious?" He paused in the motion of taking the bowl and gently shook his head, saying, "It's just a gastric perforation. I got to the hospital in time. There's no big problem. Just a gastric perforation." I gasped in shock. This thing could be life-threatening if you're a bit late. I'll stay with you these days. What if something happens and there's no one around to take care of you? What if you collapse at home? I'll go back to school when you're almost recovered. Alexander suddenly stopped. His bangs, which were no longer deliberately styled, drooped softly, covering the emotions in his eyes. Okay, still not willing to go back home and live. What responded to him was my silence. The third confession to him ended up in such a mess. How could I possibly act as if it never happened? I was just about to find an excuse to decline. The phone on the sofa suddenly lit up. Alexander picked up the phone before I did, and his eyes instantly darkened. 183 centimeters tall, a cute and clingy Pisces bottom. Before I could react, he had already unlocked my phone screen, scrolling down one by one, and his voice gradually turned cold. 178 centimeters tall, an innocent college boy. My ideal type, very handsome. 192 centimeters tall, rich and good looking, and boasts about having a large size? Are these your boyfriends? I quickly stood up, snatched the phone he was holding, and nervously turned off the screen. They're not my boyfriends. They're all chasing me. After thinking carefully, I spoke again, ignoring the man on the sofa with a face as black as a pot helmet. But I think the guy with the note about having a large size is quite good. He's willing to spend money on me, and his looks suit my taste. Although I haven't tried it, since he has a large size, He should be good in bed, right? I've been chatting with this Scorpio guy quite intensively recently. Originally, I had an appointment with him for dinner. If it weren't for Alexander's incident, we might have gotten to know each other better by now. However, it doesn't matter if I miss this time. When I'm in a good mood, I'll smile at Alexander more often. I turned around, bowed to him seriously, and said, "Brother, you're right. I used to be short-sighted. There are plenty of excellent men out there. There are lots of people who like a bottom with my looks." Before he could say a word, the Scorpio man called. I hugged my phone and walked towards the room. "Brother, I won't talk to you anymore. I'm looking for a partner for you. Call me if you need anything." After taking a shower and lying in bed, I was chatting merrily with someone on my phone. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." I looked up towards the door. I widened my eyes in surprise. Where did this old-fashioned guy get such a sexy shirt? It's burgundy, with a big V neck and semi-transparent. Alexander's hair, which wasn't completely dry, was sticking limply to his face. He has fair skin, wearing this kind of color and with that semi-dry hairstyle. He has an indescribable messy charm. "Daniel, the air conditioner in my room is broken. Can I sleep with you tonight?" I only saw his two kissable lips moving up and down, but I couldn't understand what he was saying. He's so appealing. I nodded blankly. There was a rustling sound beside me. He lifted the corner of my quilt and got in. He pursed his lips innocently at me, and his two dimples were swaying. "It's too late. Let's go to sleep." As he said that, he casually took away the phone in my hand, put it under his pillow, and turned off the desk lamp. "Do you still remember that when you were a child, on every thunderstorm day, you would secretly crawl into my bed in the middle of the night and say that Daniel was scared and wanted to sleep with his elder brother?" He sighed beside me. "I'm 20 years old this year." The person beside him seemed to tense up. "Do you still remember when I suddenly went crazy in college?" I was stunned. The picture of Alexander with dyed yellow hair riding a ghost fire motorcycle gradually emerged in my mind. Alexander had been steady for most of his life, and he had his rebellious period in college. During that time, he didn't know what had gotten into him. He spent a fortune buying a ghost fire motorcycle and dyed his hair a glaring yellow with a slanting fringe. As non-mainstream as it was, he still had a good sense of safety. He never rode the ghost fire motorcycle home. He said it was because he was afraid of leading me astray. But none of us expected that our parents, who had always lived overseas, suddenly came back home to give us a surprise. As soon as they entered the door and saw Alexander with his yellow hair, my mother almost fainted from shock. By the time I got home, Alexander was already kneeling. Father Shin took out his belt, and I was so scared that I slid to my knees on the spot and took the blame for Alexander. I said that I was determined to dye my hair yellow, and Alexander couldn't stop me. So he dyed his own hair to show me the effect. It was bad, but it worked. I instantly didn't want to dye my hair anymore. From then on, Alexander was even nicer to me. It made my heart flutter uncontrollably. "Yeah, who would have thought that you, who have been so steady since childhood, would have your rebellious period at, The words were only half spoken. There was suddenly a tongue in my mouth. I looked at the person on top of me in disbelief. He was really bad at kissing. He was like a wild dog, clumsily biting from my upper lip to my lower lip. It was uncomfortable. My mouth was so sore from his kisses. I wanted to adjust my posture, so I reached out and pushed him. But he misunderstood my intention and suddenly stopped his movements. We stared at each other. Those dark eyes seemed full of brokenness, glistening with water in this lingering atmosphere. "I'm not." Just as I was about to explain, Alexander reached out and covered my lips. I could clearly feel his hand trembling. "Daniel, give brother another chance, okay? You haven't even tried brother's size. How do you know whose is better?" Something slipped down from his neck and landed on my collarbone. Feeling cold, by the moonlight, I saw clearly that it was a ring. To be precise, it was the ring I gave him on his birthday last year. The other one was on the middle finger of my right hand. Following my gaze, Alexander took my right hand and placed the one hanging around his neck into my palm. "Daniel, can you put it on for me?" Even though the light wasn't on, I could still feel his intense gaze. "Can't you?" His voice instantly dropped, with a hint of fear. "I've raised you since childhood. When you first confessed your love to me, you were only a sophomore in high school and not even an adult yet. If I liked you, I'd end up in jail. When you confessed your love to me for the second time, I knew you drugged me. Actually, my reaction that time wasn't just because of the drug. But how could I like the younger brother I've raised? I'm not a brute. That night when you stripped and lay on top of me, I really almost couldn't hold back. But you were still young. If I had touched you, what would you do if you met someone you liked more in the future?" Suddenly, there was a warm sensation on my face. My mind went blank for a moment. Alexander was crying, lightly stroking his trembling back. I pursed my lips. What the? I haven't even had enough of the sweet talk. It's so rare to see Alexander showing weakness. I freed one hand and turned the clock with a red light on the table around. Brother, how could I possibly fall in love with someone else? The hidden cameras in every corner of the house are telling me that you clearly miss me too. Otherwise, why would you drink from my water cup and keep licking your lips where I drunk from? Why do you cook spicy dishes that you're not used to eating? Following my taste? Even when I'm not at home? Why do you enter my room naked in the dead of night and lie on my bed trembling? Those wrinkles, those turbidities, all of them are telling me your feelings. Your feelings that you hide in your heart and dare not make public. Fortunately, I'm a sinister and persistent person. Sick and crazy. The person on me is still crying. It seems that if I keep silent like this, he will cry himself to death in front of me. It's annoying. I reached out and held his face, then kissed those lips that I had been longing for day and night deeply. I whispered in his ear, Alexander, in the way I want it, love me well. Don't easily provoke an old man who hasn't had sex for a long time. The more fiercely he cries, the more vigorously I'll do it. I rubbed my waist and slowly sat up from the bed, then habitually reached for my phone. When I looked up, I met Alexander's playful eyes. My phone was in his hand, and the screen was still on. My heart tightened. Alexander, give me the phone. I lunged forward to grab it. He dodged backward and took the opportunity to pull me into his arms. From my perspective, I could only see his prominent Adam's apple. Daniel has been a naughty boy and even lied to his brother. It's over. I closed my eyes and lay still like a corpse. The message notification sound in the phone kept ringing. Those so-called pursuit targets were just a guise I used to deceive Alexander. After those guys, who were into the 0 and 1 culture, found out that I liked Alexander, they all came up with strategies for me. Some of the undeleted chat records couldn't even be made public. Now Alexander had seen them all. Suddenly, my butt started to hurt. Don't you want to try out all the tricks they taught you on me? Forced tie, handcuffs, ankle chains, and... Alexander lifted his eyelids and gently rubbed my waist with his palm. He silently mouthed a few words at me. My face instantly flushed red. In a panic, I said I was hungry. A soft chuckle came from above my head. The restraint was loosened. I'll go and cook for you. I didn't catch the last few words. Until one night a few days later, after work, Alexander came into the house with a bunch of express deliveries in his arms. I was wearing his shirt and curled up on the sofa drinking milk. Seeing him come back, I happily wanted to help him unpack the express deliveries. The first one I opened, my body instantly froze, holding the thing in my hand. My legs couldn't stop trembling. Is it still too late to run now? He tore off the buttons of my shirt in one go, and they made a crisp sound when they fell to the ground. A whip? It seems Daniel wants to try this today. Alexander chuckled, took the thing from my hand, and threw me onto the bed around my waist. I was only one step away from the floor. My ankle was suddenly grabbed and I was dragged back the same way. Why are you running? Try them one by one. He emphasized his tone and actions, repeating those chat records on my phone. A long, long night, synced together with my lover. Alexander's extra episode. I'm really not a decent person. I've had improper thoughts about my own younger brother. He has no idea how irresistible it is when he blinks his watery eyes and asks me aggrievedly why I don't like him. I'm not unaware that he drugged me. I originally thought of finding an opportunity to pour it away behind his back, but he directly stuffed the water cup into my hand and looked at me eagerly, telling me to drink it quickly. It seems that I've never been able to refuse his requests since childhood. I finished drinking. I got an erection. It's over. He stared at my crotch and hooked out a satisfied smile. What should I do? I'm really about to explode. I don't know how much the little rascal put in it. I didn't dare to move at all. I recited the Tao Te Ching 800 times in my mind before I could distract myself. That night, I took 3 cold showers in a row. Then I caught a cold successfully. After waking up from a sleep, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt and began to avoid Daniel, either intentionally or unintentionally. But he is even more morbidly persistent than I thought. When everyone was joking about me and Mia, he went back to his room without saying a word. However, after everyone had left, he hugged his pillow and got into my bed. I was very nervous. I was afraid that I would have an erection again unconsciously under the covers. My palms were sweating, and I just wanted this night to pass quickly. This glow-in-the-dark sticker is still glowing, he said. Looking up, I saw that it was the one I bought for him after taking 3 buses. At that time, Mamu said that I was just spoiling him. She actually thought too much. I was just really afraid that my dad would drill a big hole in the ceiling for him. No, isn't this supposed to be a chat about old times? Why did he climb on me naked? This is killing me. I had an erection again, almost the moment he climbed on me. I got an erection uncontrollably. At that moment, it was like being caught with a handle, and I was so embarrassed that I wished I could dig a hole in the ground and hide. I couldn't bear to push him away. He has a smaller frame, and his skin has been very delicate since childhood. Even a light pinch can make it turn red. I couldn't bear to, afraid of hurting him, until his hand slid down to the dangerous area along my abs. I suddenly woke up. He's the younger brother I've raised since childhood. If I had something with him, what would he do if he met someone better in the future and regretted it? Daniel is still too young and naive, but he can be naive, while I can't. I can only be his elder brother. Daniel moved back to school. He started calling me brother and no longer called me Alexander all the time. Isn't this what I wanted? I clenched my heart, tried hard to ignore the dense pain coming from there, and numbed myself with work. But every time it was quiet at night, there was no longer Daniel's chattering in the empty room. I began to feel unaccustomed again. Since Mom and Dad got married, they've left Daniel to me and gone off to enjoy themselves everywhere. I've been like a father, a mother, and an elder brother to him. But what's the result? This kid regarded me as his lover. Since he couldn't have me, he started avoiding me. When cooking, I'm used to making Daniel's favorite spicy chicken, but there's no longer someone at the dinner table to praise me all the time. There's no longer someone curled up on the living room sofa waiting for me when I get home. Actually, I also know that when Daniel can't sleep in the middle of the night, he always sneaks into my room and hugs my waist to fall asleep peacefully. Then he sneaks away again when the alarm goes off early the next morning, feeling the cold touch of the mattress beside me. I couldn't hold back and slipped into Daniel's room for the first time. Taking a deep breath, the quilt was full of Daniel's smell. Daniel's big, watery deer-like eyes appeared in my mind. I couldn't hold back and had a physical reaction. I couldn't hold back and soiled Daniel's bed, but with my smell mixed in with his, I felt so satisfied. I admit it, let me be a brute then. I raised him, and he's meant to be mine alone. I confessed to Mom Moo that I've fallen in love with Daniel. I've already thought it through. Whether she scolds or beats me, I can take it. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. After a moment, great. If you become my daughter-in-law, I won't have to worry about the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. Moo's mother cheered with joy, but I gritted my teeth and gently said, I should be your son-in-law. I'm a domineering CEO, but I don't have a stomachache. It was a play that Mom Moo asked me to act out. It said that whether it's a heterosexual relationship, a homosexual relationship between men, or a homosexual relationship between women, appropriate showing of weakness can enhance the relationship. Now Daniel is ignoring me, but he has always had a soft heart. Coupled with Mom Moo's instigation, he rushed back wearing a coat over his pajamas. When lying on Daniel's bed, I couldn't help but secretly sigh. Pretending to be weak really works. Then what if I cry a couple more times and give it a try? It worked too well. I almost died from the pleasure. I discovered Daniel's secret. He used to secretly install a lot of hidden cameras at home. After seeing what the cameras recorded, I had a new idea. Daniel, open your eyes. I was holding my phone, and the screen showed the scene of our previous sexual encounter. I've watched it several times. It seems you like this position the most. Pressed his waist down, turned over his struggling hands, and held the phone in front of his face. Alexander, you're a pervert. He bit his lower lip tightly, his face full of shame. He only glanced at it and then quickly shifted his gaze, baring his teeth and biting into the base of my thumb. The little brat is getting angry from embarrassment. It doesn't matter. Placed the phone on the bedside and propped it up, then clicked to start recording. The night is still long. There's still time to slowly discipline him.